Now, hello.
Hi, David.
That was the smoothest start we've ever had, actually.
Well,
in the history of all starts.
We've been doing this a little while. Sometimes we get better, sometimes we don't.
It's not about winning the race, it's about running the race.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
If I tell myself that over and over, it makes me feel better.
I'm just gonna.
I think I can.
I'm gonna log into chat.
She's logging into chat. Nobody's there yet. Spoilers.
That's okay. I figured I'd say hi, so that someone knows that we're actually here.
That's not how the chat works.
Well, so that they know someone else is in chat.
Oh,
yeah,
we got it. I have a new list, but I'll do the thing.
All right.
I'm pushing the button. Hey, the button didn't work. Why didn't my button work?
Oh, well, you have to click the thing then.
Yeah, I know. Okay, thanks everybody on this list. You're super important to us, and we appreciate the support you give the channel through Patreon. How's at the top there, everybody else on the list. We appreciate you. Patreon.com/3dmakeit if you want to get down on some of the fun. The Discord's the biggest one that we have. You get access to the private end, and then the Patreon live stream is sort of a thing still. So yeah, come join us. Patreon.com/3dmakeit.
Ooh, you did the thing.
Yeah, Dominic's here.
Hey, Dom. How you doing?
Let's go backwards.
Okay, we can go backwards.
Let's start with cell 21. This is, and then go to 19, and then we'll so 2 years first, basically.
All right. So I was doing some tuning on Hulk back here, and it had a extra long USB cable that probably shouldn't have been on there, that went from the main board to the Pi. And when I moved the printer, it snagged and it yanked my USB connector and ripped some of the pads off the board and whatnot. And I don't know, I guess I tried to fix it, but as you can see, it didn't work too well. The one pad over on the right on the picture, I don't know if we're sharing it or not, but
we were, but you disconnected the camera for some reason, so now
no,
it's back.
Oh, okay. But the pad on the right hand side over here, unfortunately, you can see the copper, it delaminated. You can see part of it is like still touching the pad but not connected, so it does not communicate anymore with my Pi.
You know, we call that the industry broken.
Foobarred.
Yeah.
Bamboozled, maybe.
No. You bamboozled yourself?
I guess so. Anyway, so we don't need to share it anymore, but I'm gonna have to. So I get to clipperize a different board and put it in, and it shouldn't be too bad, but I'll get to go through all the process. Yeah. Hey, Helch. Yeah.
It's
I broke the connector and broke the pad right off the board, so I can't even reflow the solder.
It's yeah. It's a mistake I think everybody makes eventually too, and it comes with if you're soldering on boards, eventually you take pads and
yeah,
makes you
sad. I really shouldn't have been had that long of a cord, and then I found my shorter cord, and so I was going to replace it, and then I realized I had yanked it, and
yeah, be gentle.
And I had just done a test print, just like to see if it was still printing well, and it was printing well. and whatnot. So I was about to do another print on it, and then I was like, "Why isn't it printing?
It broke.
Why does it say it's not connected?" And then,
You broke it.
yeah,
That
yeah,
sucks.
yeah.
I've done it.
So
I did that to one of those infinity printers, and then I jankily just shoved some wires around and
I think we resoldered a USB connector directly to the board
yep.
because the pads weren't actually ripped off. But in
Yeah.
this case, that's not going to work.
I'll just look at the bright side. In 100 years, nobody's going to care.
You're
Actually,
not wrong.
I'll go out on a limb and say in 100 hours, nobody's going to care.
Well, I've got a board that should fit in there. But I just don't know how well the fly board works with Clipper. So I guess I'll find out.
I don't know. You have to take it for a test flight.
Yep. So I have a board to go in, so that's fine. So that'll be my project for this week sometime.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the last 2 weeks, something magical happened. Magical. And everybody's okay. Lots of people are mad or they don't understand the situation, one of the two. But I am referring to updates that BambuLab announced. First to the X series, then to the P series, and then I think it rolls out to the P and A at the same time. But they made an announcement about changing changing some firmware over. Helge asked, "What's a good Clipper board?" Honestly, I like the SKR3. Those are decent boards still, like the SKR series.
Yep, they're good.
Yeah, I think that if they do have some boards that run the Raspberry Pi processor too.
Yeah,
but I haven't seen a unified board yet.
It really depends on how many steppers you're running, because they've got like you said, the Manta boards, which can do like 8 steppers and this and that. So
Yeah.
if you're just converting like an Ender or a CR10 or something like that, I'd agree with David. The SKR is fine. But if you're looking at a bigger printer with like 6-8 steppers or something like that, then I would go with like one of the Manta boards, or one of the Octoprint, or not what Octopi, or the Octopus ones, or whatever.
On a CR10, hell, I run an SKR. I think it's a 1.4 maybe, but like any of the SKRs are great on that.
Yep.
I
also have a
run Clippers.
I have a 1.4 on my Blue Thunder back there, and it's running Clipper. And then on the Bamboo, I have a 1.3.
Not on the Bamboo.
Or sorry, Bumblebee.
Like you wouldn't put that. Anyway,
I misspoke.
What are you doing? Okay, anyway. So we're talking about firmware really quick. BambuLabs announced that they were changing the firmware to the Bamboo series. No worries. Hell, it's just what it's all about. They're changing the firmware to the BambuLab series of firmwares that made some changes that people weren't happy about. Their original statement, which they've removed.
The original statement's still there.
They've edited it though, because they've taken some of the verbiage out. You can go back. I don't know if the Wayback has it, but they came out with this sweeping statement, basically, that on the front of things makes it look like your printer is going to not work as you expect it to work. I think one of the biggest things in the firmware update was the fact that if you didn't do the firmware update, eventually the jobs that you send wouldn't actually go to the printer until you did the firmware update. Now they walked back on that a little bit, but people took that meaning that they're going to brick your printer, which wasn't ever the case, but it would have changed the way you operated your printer, because if you didn't have the up-to-date firmware, there'd be only one option, which was the original LAN mode on the Bamboo.
Right. Yep.
Now,
Now they've added 2 modes to
yeah, so
allow you.
they've got one that's called like I got
Developer?
Yeah, normal and developer, standard and developer, and the developer mode enables that like printing in LAN. So both those modes are only to do with LAN mode operation of your printer, which in my opinion, and we talked about this before, LAN mode should have always been a thing. You should have been able to print with your printer locally. And yeah, and like Ray says, I only use LAN mode. But LAN mode on the printer should have included things like the camera stream, the MQTT by default, and FTP. And I'll walk those statements back a little bit as we go here. So there was those things. Now BambuLab has a statement that kind of addresses all the big stuff. So like the one we talked about where people thought they would brick your printer, which really just means they would remotely disable the print job if you didn't update your firmware. That's not bricking anything, to be clear. I don't know if you've ever had a brick device, but a brick device doesn't do anything.
I think people are just freaking out because they're used to the Creality world or the Voron world where there is no proprietary closed, hardware and software, right?
Yeah, I
and
suppose.
and so it really set off people's nerve because they have this printer and they have 5 other printers that they don't have to worry about on, and then now they're changing this stuff. Well, it still works perfectly with BambuLabs software.
Well,
So
we were talking. Well, like I was talking, and then you switched. But like the changes inside the firmware, like the 2 that I mentioned aren't so bad. Some people thought that the MS would restrict the filament type, which is not true. Some people think
there's lots of conspiracies out there.
Well, no, these are direct responses from BambuLab. They've come out against these. So BambuLab says in their release that these claims, that I will read in order, are utterly false. So BambuLab will remotely disable your printer. Firmware updates will block your printer's ability to print. The MS will restrict which filament it can use. Here, let me see if I can share the screen while I'm doing this. Riveting screen capture. Yeah, there we go. The printers have a kill switch that disables them after a certain period of time. All 3D files printed are monitored and duplicated or stolen, and a subscription will be mandatory. So that was an update from the original statement, which was over on this page, and I put these in the they're in the comment or the description section of the video, so if you guys want to check them out. But basically, this is what they were doing. You'd have to have the new firmware and the new apps to bind a printer, right? So you get a new printer, you gotta have the new stuff on it. So this is an interesting one. They are in the developer mode. They're giving us like MQTT back and FTP and like those things. I don't know if folk know much about MQTT or FTP for that matter, but they're just open protocols. And at your house, if you have anything that can be turned on with a smart assistant or like
Home Assistant
home
or whatever.
assistants, or you have a cell phone, this stuff's already on in your house. So the big bad boogeyman's not coming out from these things to get you, probably. But the biggest thing,
It might be looking for those things.
yeah, but it's not going to directly single you out because you have a BambuLab printer. So of note, the biggest change, and Greg touched on it, was after updating this firmware, all third-party stuff stops right now. The things that work with BambuLabs
yes,
would be Bamboo Studio and Handy. Now,
and with their additional little new
so they have like a Bamboo Connect is the idea. So here's kind of what the workflow would look like.
Yeah, it's a plugin that you can. Yeah.
Originally, we're using these services, right? And Bamboo did not. Bamboo never really wanted those services to be used outside the app, right? Because there's no local, like, if you think about it, if Bamboo wanted their printer to have like all those stuff on for me and you to use, there would have been a web page, right? Like a fluid front end,
like Clipper, or exactly.
So like it shouldn't be a shock that like this is kind of how they envision it. So right now, the immediate side effect of the firmware is, stuff gets kicked off. But BambuLab also said in a interview, I guess you would call it, blog post. Blog post. That's better.
Yeah.
That like they were, that it was contentious, but they said they weren't going to block out third-party stuff. They would work with the trusted makers of the third-party stuff. So you guessed it, one of the third-party partners is Orca Slicer.
Yep.
One of the third-party partners is Big Tree Tech.
Well, they Big Tree Tech, I hadn't heard that I heard that originally they were trying to work with them, and then Big Tree Tech, did you read their response that basically they got no feedback from Bamboo? They went back and forth with them, and then heard crickets, and then after this happened again, they went back and forth with them and didn't get any. Basically, they said you're luck, the MQTT is gone, or whatever, MQ, whatever it is.
MQTT. Now, basically both of the people that they said they talked to were like, you never told us, and then you just did it. Now, there's some chat that I gotta read in here. Let's go here. Boom. I can read chats. Sorry, it's too far away on the other way. Dominic says, it seems like Bamboo didn't fully explain the directions, which certain users interpreted incorrectly. So, like, that's a good point, and I like it. I like here one. So, like, I bought my BambuLab a year ago, right? Roughly.
I've had mine for about a year.
And then I put the screen on mine. I didn't buy the Big Tree Tech. I put like a different one, the X Touch.
Yeah, you did an open source one that you built, right?
Yeah, but in researching it way back then, both the Big Tree Tech screen and this project, both on their information sources, said this could stop working at any minute because it relies on a protocol we can't guarantee is always going to be available to the printer.
Right.
So they knew, like those two partners knew, Orca Slicer knew that if they ever changed that network driver in Orca Slicer, like it would break. Now BambuLab's been upfront and said like, hey, we're building this new thing to give you access. Is it going to cost something? Maybe. However, I think
all the companies were told way back when Bamboo came out and they started doing this, that those features may go away as well.
Yeah, and so when you look at Bamboo as a company, and I said this a long time ago, actually, like even before I had Bamboo and like we were looking at Bamboo, like I didn't at first like Bamboo because I couldn't tinker, right? It was locked to their app, and I'm like, no, I'm out. I don't want it. But over time, it grew on me, and then I got one, right? And it's been really good. And then the way it gets used in my house is predominantly through the Handy app, because I don't print as much as my wife does on it. She uses it more than I do, right? So like it's an odd change for me. It's status quo.
I would say that for a new user to 3D printing that's never used a 3D printer before, the barrier to entry is almost zero with the Bamboo. And is that because it's locked down? Maybe. It's definitely more refined than some of the other ones. There is less tinkering. So if you like tinkering, Bamboo maybe not be for get a on.
Well,
or something.
And I think, and I've said this words too before, but like there's this big concept in the community. I'm gonna use air quotes for community there. I hate that word.
I know you do.
I hate that word. Companies like, so BambuLabs owes me as a user of their printer the use of the printer. So if at any time they decided to release a firmware that's like, oh yeah, you know, your printer is not going to work anymore unless you join like Handy World or whatever online, and
it's online only or right? Whatever,
that would be a problem. BambuLabs though has not taken away access to my printer as of this moment. Their announcement doesn't do that. Their changes were in response to a cyber incident on their servers where they lost keys basically on their side. So then they're tightening everything down the line so that they can guarantee security. Now, I would argue that changing some of that stuff
isn't security.
Yeah. You cannot fool us. But changing from so they have like, it used to be API, like non-trusted like service protocol calls to the printers, to a more structured API in the Bamboo Connect thing. That is more secure, but it doesn't mean it's more secure for my use.
It's more secure for communication between their app and their device.
So they, in response to that, in response to like, oh, we're going to stop everything, they came out with the developer mode LAN, right? Which enables all those old services. They're going to have a new model on how like that will talk to like their slicer. It probably works default with Orca. I haven't looked at it, but if those protocols are running, you probably can do it. Now the Ray says, hold on, I gotta read Helge's first. Just don't see why on the need to be online. Yeah, that's a good point. So he's just saying basically, why does your printer need to be online? And it doesn't.
Well, and they've added offline firmware updates, SD default. You can always, do the old sneaker net and put your slice on the SD card, stick it in, and print. They haven't taken away the ability to print G code that you put on an SD card.
Made it more robust, the LAN mode, over time, because like there was a time where it's like, and now they're doing it more, and they've added more features. Now we got developer mode, which is great for LAN mode, because then maybe you could use it on your network, but like block it on the edge so that the firewall doesn't let anything out. Ray says thing is they can cut us out with a flip of the switch. Yeah,
Well, but so could every slicer out there could update a piece of slicer software and just kill their software. But that's
yeah.
not their business.
I
Their
see.
business is to provide a service.
I see Ray's point because they could like with a firmware update such as this one. If you want to, I'll put a tinfoil hat on for a second. With this firmware update, it changes how the printer interacts, like with applications and only BambuLabs. And then once you do that, for sure, that was the comment, they can stop a print job because if you don't update to the firmware, for sure they can just have the server ignore your traffic and be like, nope,
I
and then your
I,
printer doesn't work. But I
I
don't
think the
see that.
biggest people that this affects are print farms. So if you
Yeah.
have like 30 of these printers, right? And you were using a print farm software, I don't know a specific name of one, but and it was using the MQTT to communicate to all your farm printers. You're going to be pretty pissed if your software doesn't work with the Bamboo Connect, right? Because
Mhm.
now you can't start your farm up and away you go.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's a real problem. And so I could see, and a lot of the guys that I saw the rants from, they ran either small business farms or some large business farms for that matter,
mhm.
and whatnot. So I can see that. Now if Bamboo wants to pardon me, if Bamboo wants to go into the kind of the semi-commercial space or the semi-industrial space and whatnot, they do want a more secure device, right? Because if they want to put it in a government environment, they want to be able to know that it's not leaking anything or people can't turn stuff on and off and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I get the security it
But they
part,
but they made a
but
device for that, right? The
but
X1E
right,
is
you
the
can
answer
flip the
to that.
switch and whatnot. So
Like,
and they, again, this is applying to all the X series so far. They haven't said that it's going to the A series yet,
so the
right?
reason like their changes, no, it says not yet. And the P series is coming. The reason for me this change like is semi about security, but at the same time isn't, is because BambuLabs has to interact right now with your printer. So that's what they're doing. They're securing their edge by making sure that the stuff that's coming from your printer is coming from vetted sources.
Mm-hmm. And that's
Um,
and that I think that's a fair and positive thing to do. Um, I I do feel bad for the farms and those people. I think having maybe an official Bamboo um, API or something
well, that's
that
what the
is prop
Connect is, right?
well, kinda,
Well, no,
but
they're
it does
wrapping
it
it for third parties to
right.
interact with their printer.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's full on API, like a
Just,
fully
just
fledged documented
I got the picture
API.
and everything.
Is
Remember?
it actually, because that was
It's
one of the complaints that some of the people were saying, is that they don't have proper, and maybe that was with, because MQTT isn't really an API.
no, and
Maybe that's what they were referring to. But
that's
if they,
100% what they're referring to.
yeah,
Because right
if
now, Bamboo like Slicer uses an API call to their cloud service,
mhm,
right? But like it didn't before with all the other local services.
right. Well,
So
I think if and maybe that, maybe we're just too early and the Bamboo Connect has isn't evolved enough to get the support from the farm software people and whatnot,
yeah,
to the
the
point where
screens and all that
they
stuff.
they haven't thought of all the use cases, right, that they haven't developed them in. And I would hope that with Bamboo selling, millions of printers now, that they will kind of add that or focus on that as a way to move ahead, and still, because they want to grow their business. They're a company. They want to grow their business and they want to make money. They do not want to, if they turn off all our printers, none of us will buy printers anymore from them. and they're
Well,
out of business.
and that's the thing. There's plenty of people that bought a BambuLab printer that didn't understand that they're not for tinkering, and those are the people that are mad right now. But like, yeah, like when you look at a business model, like Creality doesn't hide the fact that when you join your printer to the Creality cloud, they want your money, right? There's a subscription that pops up if you wanted to have like premium access. You can buy the models like from their I forget the name of their thing, but I think it's Creality Print. But like,
Yeah.
you could buy models from there, and they take some kickbacks. BambuLabs the same thing. Like, you can buy a model on BambuLab, like there are
Mhm.
for a purchase, right? So like, they have their mechanisms for churning the great money makers already, but for them as a company to say, like, so I'm gonna put my tinfoil hat again, and these guys say they're gonna brick your printer and won't work anymore. That would be crazy. That would be suicide
Mhm.
for a company. Because
Absolutely.
if they now, I'm not saying don't advocate for your consumer rights. You should,
Oh,
because that's why we
100%.
have what we have now with them, right? Because we kept complaining. They're like, fine, that does sound important. Maybe we should give you this feature. Like
And
the
so far they have they done bonehead things over time and then backpedaled? Yes. Has Creativity done bonehead things?
any keyboard,
Yes.
yeah.
Has have like I don't know any of these emerging businesses that maybe got things tone deaf or a little bit wrong and had to backpedal and whatnot and realized, oh, we thought the community was saying X, but it's actually Y.
Yeah.
I think we need to reassess and make sure that we are maybe we didn't communicate right.
Yep.
Maybe we jumped the gun and we need a new path of communication. Like there's this happens all the time. It's just that because Bamboo is slightly different than, a lot of the other open source companies, it really hit the community the wrong way.
So Dominic asks, what happens if Bamboo goes bust? And I would hope that, well, one, your
Right?
printer works in LAN mode, so whatever, go bust if you want. You would obviously lose the cloud connected server parts of it. You'd lose the firmware updates. Your printer would still work in offline mode though.
Yeah.
And it sounds like with the new developer mode, it would work in offline mode online.
Yeah, like if they went bust, you'd lose the Handy app, right?
Yeah,
So then you would then now have to rely on Orca Slicer, right? Or someone else to
yeah,
continue to develop the slicing and whatnot, but based on older firmware, right? Like unless and then there is, because a while ago someone did break the firmware, right? And then there was that
yeah,
controversy where you could side load other firmware on it, and basically Bamboo said, yeah, okay, we're going to leave a mechanism so you can do that, but we're not
but
going to support or warranty your printer if you do that.
yeah,
So it's not unheard of that the community would come to the rescue on something like this, because they already have a basis for a firmware that can go onto the printer. So
yeah, and it's like somebody would figure it out. But like at the end of the day, you would be SOL, like Ray says. You would be for all the cloud connected features, and your LAN mode would work. But that would probably be, like Greg said, in a very short period of time before something was figured out. I mean, at the end of the day, too, like, it's not like it's a mystery box. It's a 3D printer, so you could put a different controller in there. You could drive the steppers with Clipper. You could, like, there's ways that you could, like, the hardware is still good. Like, obviously the AMS would be a problem.
Yeah, and the
If you were to,
routines and stuff, like someone would have to really go hard to work at, getting the wipe routine correct, getting this and that. So like
Yeah.
there's some from scratch stuff that people are going to have to rework. Now, I don't see bamboo going away anytime soon. I see a lot of people freaked out and saying I'll never buy a bamboo again and all this and that.
Yeah.
But who
I,
knows?
I watched a video and there was a guy. I think he was like he had an A1 in it, but like one of the videos, it was great because like the whole video is him like basically tinfoil hatting. Like, I used to recommend these printers, and now I hate it. Like I can't because blah blah blah. The firmware issue and the first pinned comment on the I can't recommend this printer anymore was his comment that was pinned that said, actually I'll still recommend it, right? Like I'll still do it. And I'm like, okay,
Right?
so we have a whole so is it a problem like that how they announced it? Probably. I feel they blindsided their part. Like the thing is they're not partners, they're third parties,
Yeah.
but I feel like those third parties didn't know what was coming, and then they're like, hey, what?
It was a great content generator for YouTube.
That, and it was. But the other thing too is like, it's the old adage: is there such thing as bad publicity? No,
No.
because now everybody's talking about BambuLab bamboo printers,
Hmm.
right? Where there's other probably bigger things. Like in my life, like the Creality High is cool. The conversion kits are finally out for the K1Cs to do the
Oh, are they?
CFS.
Did they finally release them? Because
So
I know it.
Creality has them on like websites, but they're just for pre-order. So I don't know when
Do
that.
they list like what comes with them and stuff now?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
There's a
you should bring
full.
that up. We could transition from bamboo
Uh,
to look at that.
okay. See if I can
Yeah.
find it.
Um,
I'll see if I can find it.
Ray did have one last comment. There are certain parts in the bamboo that require you to have bamboo flip the switch on before you can use it. Yeah, and that's definitely the firmware and whatnot. Like I totally understand that, Ray. But if someone were to rip the guts out of a bamboo and just go down to the basic hardware, and then yeah, you could do whatever you want. Like it's like the guy who took a Tesla and put a LS1 in it. You can rip out all the electronics and you can put in a new stuff and have an LS swapped Tesla, which is no longer a Tesla, right? Like you can. Is it hard work to do? Yes. Is it in Tesla's case like insane to have an LS swapped Tesla car? Yes, but that was the point. It was supposed to be extreme and insane. So you can with a lot of work do whatever you want on these. It is it going to be for the faint of heart? No.
Well, and I think at the point like we're talking about too, like yeah, like those flip a switch features would not work obviously because the
Mhm.
service would be gone. So like it would be something that you would have to bypass.
Mhm.
But I mean it is a valid point. There definitely is, like in the registration process and with some of the components, right? Like there is a flip the switch and
Mhm.
there is a will it work. So
Yeah,
I have the I'll send the link to you in Skype so you can bring it up on your computer.
sure.
And then I will bring up this thing. Now, it's not on our good friend's site yet. So this site is from somebody else in Canada. um
Looks like they got some 3D printed parts.
let's
I'm
see if
not
there's
sure.
so like the K1C, this is kind of what the kit looks like. Pop. Yeah, there we go. So like you could see, like it obviously doesn't come with the CFS. No. So like the kit has like new back panels. It looks like it has some upgrades for your hot end and stuff.
Are those back panels? They look pretty tiny. What are those?
Well, they go on the I think they go on the back of the printer so that it can poop,
Oh, okay.
but that's a guess.
I don't know. I think
I
we know
haven't.
someone who's seen this kit.
I
So
don't know. I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I don't know if he's seen it or not.
So
Because it's
yeah,
like it's still pre-order. Like maybe, but like so this exists, and then you would buy a CFS, which is about $500 in Canada. Um, it'd be interesting to see like if the K1 like the new ones, if they would just come with the kit, right?
right.
Um, there's a power supply. I don't know. Um, but whatever. So like it is out there. I've seen it actually on a few websites now. It was on Creality's like main website. They
Looks like
announced
there's
at
some videos out
CES.
there too. So
Yeah. So like if you did watch the Creality stuff from CES, it's there as well. Um, the best would be let the owner decide how they want to control it with. I disagree, but not strongly. And let me tell you why I disagree with that statement. I don't get to decide how my iPhone works. It works like an iPhone. I don't get to decide how my Android phone works. It works like
well,
an Android phone.
you can root it though, and then it no longer fully works the way they intended it for either
Right.
both of them, and then a bunch of stuff breaks because you now
You
are
broke
trying
your
to
phone.
use it in a different way than intended, right? And by rooting it, you then now
Yeah.
potentially expose yourself to malware, spyware, whatever.
Yeah. And then like Helge had a follow up statement too, like the internal software could still be a security bamboo thing, but let one choose what slicer and other connections they want to make to it.
And, and that's what developer mode is it not?
So developer mode pro right now, or I guess it's not called pro. Developer mode is the name of it, or you can have standard. You pick from two in the firmware, and that one does give you those protocols back. Now, um, having worked in cybersecurity and like knowing how users are, um, you can tell somebody 100 times that whoa, you just went super bright. You could tell people, consumers, users, us, me, you, 100 times that is not secure. You shouldn't do it, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
MQTT and FTP open on your net, like home network, not a good idea. However, yeah, it's open if you have those smart things, and like that's the concession you make to use it. um I think what the updates are after again are to secure the connections from the printers to the servers. So could you have third party software interact with the printer? Of course you could. 100%, right? Orca Slicer already has the engines to slice and send jobs to the server securely. So what they really need is like that secured Bamboo Connect portion just to the server without
Mm-hmm.
messing with like the local printer stuff. Because let's face it, like, and you said it too, right? Like, oh, you can root your iPhone. You can make your iPhone work different if you root it or
You
if you're gonna
can.
break it, and it's 100% true. But there's always things that won't work after
Mm-hmm.
that. And when I bought my Bamboo printer, I knew that it would probably be Bamboo like Studio and Handy.
Mm-hmm.
And like honestly, that's and like for my Creality printer, Creality Slicer 6.0 is out now.
So I haven't
Mwah.
tried 6.0. 5.6 I've tried, but the so I, for the first time in I don't know ages, because I set up a new computer, I hadn't launched Orca Slicer.
Yeah.
I I wanted to use Hulk, so I installed Orca and launched it. I thought I opened the wrong software because it looked exactly like Bamboo Slicer.
It does. Yes.
So
One.
I honestly thought I opened the wrong slicer,
Yeah.
and then I looked
100%
and
it
I was like,
does.
oh no, it's so it felt and looked exactly like bamboo slicer.
Right.
So
Which was
if it
a borrow
if
from Super Slicer, which was a borrow from.
right from Prusa and blah, blah blah blah, right. So honestly, if it's a slicer issue, I don't think you can have too much difficulty transitioning between bamboo and orca. It
No,
should
not
be
from a use point. Like it
yeah.
is nice. Like so, like I got a couple Ender 3s and
Mhm.
a CR10 and an SX4, and like it is nice in Orca that I can manage those relatively easily. But
And that's why I loaded it, because that's what I typically was using in the past. I did have it set up in Prusa Slicer, but I keep David keeps saying orca, so I was like, I haven't used it in a while. I'm
Orca's
gonna
pretty good.
fire it up, and yeah, it was familiar, it was easy. I had my print going great until I wrecked my printer. uh you know but that
Whoops.
was a physical damage thing on my part because I snagged the cable, right? So
Yeah.
it's but software wise, it's excellent. Like and I can see why people enjoy using it, because if you have a workflow that you've developed and you've got these profiles built up in Orca for 5 other brands of printers, and you want to add in your bamboo into your workflow, I
Mm-hmm.
totally get it. It's not like I don't understand why people are outraged about the change, but
It, if you change people's workflow, they get mad. That's
that's the
that's
thing.
the
Like, change is hard for people no matter what it is. We make a change that should be in our network or something at work, and it should be no big deal, but the workflow is going to change slightly, but it's going to be more secure. We get an uproar of people who are pissed, and it's not like we're trying to make their life more difficult, but
well,
we're trying to balance
a little bit
security with their work,
usability.
and
Yeah.
and so it's we understand that, okay, now you've got it, you can't do go ABC, now you have to go ABCD. I'm
Yeah.
sorry we added the D, but we had to.
They had to. And I think so, like, and I do believe in this situation. Um so this is one of the worst situations that Bamboo Lab has made for themselves. And it's one of the worst handled ones that they've had too. Because the comments were basically like, no, you guys are wrong. This is not what we're doing. Shut up. And I mean, maybe some of it we were wrong, some of it we were right, but they could have handled like the post statement better.
Oh, I agree.
What
And
is Ray says? I got 5 fast clipper machines and 3 different slicers, Creality Print, Orca, and Bamboo Slicer. I do this so I don't have to change the printer in my slicer. I love
right,
it, Ray. Yeah, I did the same
and
thing. Now with
that's
the
true.
yeah,
I agree with you 100%, because that's um originally when we had our latest workshop, right? We had our workshop, we had it all set up, and I said had originally proposed that we just put Creality Slicer out, and David's like, or not bamboo, orca. And my thinking was like kind of like yours, where it's a Creality Slicer, Creality printer, keep them together, make it simple, because that's most likely, if they're going home, that's what they're going to be using
yeah. The reason
for the basic, because these are people that aren't nerdy like us.
yeah, and the reason that I was proposing Orca in that situation, and I think it comes back and it circles in good on the security talk, is the fact that Creality Slicer has a scanner built in to do network detection, where
Mm-hmm.
Orca does not. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the reason not to install 100 nodes of active scanning on your network is security, which was
Absolutely.
ignored. I was, and but like there's logic not because of the Creality side, but because of the it can't automatically scan the network for your Creality printer, and
Yeah.
by default, without installing the Bamboo drivers, it won't scan for them either. Um, so like, and Orca Slicer, like you said, it looks almost like Handy Studio, and Handy Studio now almost looks like Creality Slicer, except like they've
Yeah.
swapped left and right.
Yeah.
But like the Creality Slicer at home is great. It works really good. It finds printers, but it is a network beacon, and it is using those
MQTT or
I
something.
don't know. It doesn't use MQTT. I forget what it scans on,
Um.
but it does have some
Yeah.
downsides to it.
Yeah.
So,
Clipper uses something different.
but like
Moonraker.
yeah, Moonraker API, and it's 443, I think, or 8443, something like that. But like, there's always two sides to the coin. Like obviously, like when it comes to these updates, I think um at the end of the day, I think the BambuLab printers are still going to work the way they work right now for a very
Mm-hmm.
long time. But they're going to work with BambuLab Studio because BambuLabs takes pride in this product for one thing, and they want to keep control of their ecosystem for two things. But I don't think we're going to get to the point where you see like them blocking non spools or non, because that'd be silly, because then all you'd have to do is buy the respool things and snap on whatever filament you want onto their spool.
Right. Well, okay. So our speaking RFID for a second.
Oh, he's
Um,
doing it.
you can, like, for example, my fridge. My fridge has a water filter,
Yes.
and this water filter has an RFID tag on it
Yes.
that references when it was installed, so that the filter light goes on. And then if you put a non-RFID tagged filter in your fridge, water will not flow because of the RFID tag. Now, that's, I think, outrageous. I'm sorry. It's a water filter. You should be able to change it. If they, like, you can have third parties that have RFID tags that will could expire after a certain amount of time, so that if you put it in, the RFID tag couldn't be read. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you could rewrite the RFID tag or whatnot, they can get around that. I don't think that Bamboo is going to lock down their printer, and they've said it on their site that they're not going to lock it out third party filament. Now, can you get around that? Yes, I cut the RFID tag out of the water filter, and I've taped it to the sensor in the, in the fridge, and now I can put my $10 water filters in instead of
So,
$90 water filter. So you can hack and work around it.
and I mean, I'm sure the logic of the manufacturer with those tags too is one, to make sure you go buy it like from them because it's really expensive probably, but two, like it's probably, well, we know that our filters are good quality and they won't break the fridge or whatever. They
It's
do
a
that with
filter.
cars too, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, if you get an oil change, use OEM parts because that generic filter from Canadian Tire might break and go through, right?
Honestly, the coolest thing about those RFID spools are you put them in, you don't have to tap 3 settings on your printer to actually choose your filament type.
Yeah,
That's
that's
but that's what they're for. That was a
that's
convenience feature for people so that they
yeah.
don't have to do that. Now, I use non-bamboo for the most part. I use some bamboo, but I use our great, sponsor every once in a while, Spool 3D. I use spools a lot. They don't have RFID tags. I have to tap 3 different things on this. I still select bamboo as the filament type,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
choose my color. It wasn't that hard, and that's, you know, I don't know.
It like and I mean they work, like you say, they work nice, they work as intended. It's like you posted like an open spool like reader, you can scan your RFID yourself. Here's the thing, unless the ecosystem already supports something like that, I'm immediately out, because then you have to hack something together that may or may not work.
In if you look at some of the big commercial brands of, like, I mean, industrial 3D printers,
Yeah.
they do this. They make you use their filament in their printers. If you use something else, it won't print with our RFID system. And I think that's where the people got scared about it, because they thought that's what's going to happen. But Bamboo isn't a commercial 3D printing company. They're a prosumer, I would, in my opinion,
One of
3D
theirs is,
printing,
yeah.
right? So they're higher end than just a stock Ender 3 out of the, end of the market, right? But
Yeah.
they're not gonna shoot themselves in the foot and lock them out. I don't think they will.
It would be corporate suicide to do it that way. So, yeah, Dominic's talking about HP. I mean, a printer company that does that with inkjet cartridges.
Right?
HP. They even went so far that you couldn't scan without an HP ink cartridge in the thing.
Right.
So,
and you look at the other end of it. Epson now has got rid of cartridges, and you just refill the tanks now. Like, they're like, okay, we want to dominate the market. People are fed up with this. We're going to go the other way.
yeah.
And that's fine too. Whatever. It's consumers' dollars will dictate on how successful a company is going to be. And if they make a good product and people buy it, that's the way it works.
100%. And like, yeah, your almighty dollar means more of a voice than anything else when it comes to like telling companies what we want. Because if we don't give them money, they can't do anything.
Yeah.
However, friends, family, and countrymen, we are nearing the end, so I'm going to do the thing.
All right.
My button broken. It's still
Click
broken.
it. Click it.
I'm clicking it. Thanks for watching today. If you're not a member, our Patreon is patreon.com/3dmakeit. We have some Discords. We got some live stream benefits. Thanks to everybody on the list. We'll make a new list soon and fix it up. If you like the show today, like, share, subscribe. We're really trying to cover the stuff that's interesting to everybody here.
Yeah.
So bring more friends. That's always good. And once we figure out what Bamboo's doing, then we can settle in and actually make video on the slicer like we've been talking about. Too. But we thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.